Good evening, Wild Rocket here with you from Istanbul, Turkey. Istanbul in a nutshell. About 3 or 4 months ago, I was on the metro going to work from my town into the city centre, and I saw two girls, two sisters, identical twins, about early 20s or perhaps late teens. One of them was wearing a hijab, the other one was not wearing a hijab. The girl who was wearing a hijab, much like most girls who are of that religious inclination, seemed very modest, very conservative in her demeanour, was dressed in a very plain uniform coloured way, whereas her sister was dressed more, we can say, liberally. They both looked alike, and yet they were different. I mean, one obvious analogy would be is if they were looking at each other head on. It would be like one girl seeing her reflection in a mirror, except the mirror she was looking at was showing a different side of herself. And that was a really fascinating thing to witness, because they looked alike, and yet, based on the surface, I mean, I did not speak to these women. I could tell that they were Turkish because I heard them speaking in Turkish, but they seemed to be so different, even though they looked identical. And it was very fascinating, very eye-opening to see that, and that, I think, is a very accurate, or at least a very descriptive microcosm for Istanbul as a whole. You know, a small representation of a very interesting place where you can meet people who seem to be from the same area, from the same culture, and yet filtered through a very different prism, you know. This has been Wild Rocket with you from Istanbul, Turkey. Cheers, thank you, peace. Blessings, strength, enlightenment, integration, love, and alignment.